Welcome to the team at Mercy J Auto Care. I'm really glad you decided to come on board with us. I have no doubt that it won't be very long before you will be fully integrated into our shop. You'll build some great relationships with the rest of the staff, and you'll fit right in. Also, I think you're going to really embrace the culture of Mercy J. And that culture really is twofold. One is we practice a lot of empathy. We try to put ourselves in other people's shoes, primarily our clients. And then secondly, we try to be really meticulous about what we do. And so that's why our tagline is Mercy J, where compassion and craftsmanship come together. So thanks for joining our team. This is actually our first training video, and we're going to talk today about our digital vehicle inspections. So you will have a tablet. You'll open it up to the Mobile Manager Pro, and then you will choose the customer or client. Now, I want to say something right there first. I want you to be very aware. We do not work on GMC trucks. We serve people. So in this case, I'm actually serving Mr. Smith. And you don't know Mr. Smith. You don't know that he has a wife and children and grandchildren. You don't know if he uses this truck to get back and forth to work or to take his parents to the doctors. But this is a person you're serving, and I want you to always keep that in mind anytime you're doing anything at Mercy J. So then we're going to go under inspections, and we're going to talk today about the vehicle inspection. So I'm going to open that up, and the first thing you're going to see on the vehicle inspection is initial concerns. That's another training, that's not today. Then the first main part of what we're inspecting here is going to be called lights and accessories. Now, before we do the inspections, I want to mention one other thing. This is a very, very important tool that we use to communicate with our clients. They get a text, and it receives all of your report as well as the pictures that you take. And I want to make it very clear. You have to conduct yourself with integrity on this. If you mark that you checked something, you better have checked it. We do not allow what's called pencil whipping. You can't just say you checked a bunch of stuff without looking at it. And I'll tell you right now, if any pencil whipping happens, that's cause for termination. So make sure you do this right, okay? So the first thing we have on here is we're going to pull it into the bay, and the first thing on our list is the warning lights. And we're going to take a look at that. Imagine this truck is running right now, and we're going to snap a picture. And then under warning lights, you're going to have a place where you can put notes. And there's some canned notes, which your shop foreman will help you learn a little bit more about. Next is exterior lights. And so on that one, we can hit the turn signals. And if they flash normally, we don't have to go out and check them. We can turn the lights on. We can hit the high beams and the low beams and see those on the wall or our toolbox. We'll walk completely around the vehicle, check all of the lights, including the license plate lights. And then, if you don't have one, you need to make a little bit of a stick that you can put on the brake pedal so you can walk around and look at the brake lights. So the lights are done. Next, we're going to check the windshield and the wipers. On the wiper blades, we're simply going to tug on the blade and see if it tears easily. And we're going to look for any major chips or cracks. This truck has a big crack in the windshield. It also has a number of chips. And so we might snap a picture of the crack and put our notes there. Next on our list is the air conditioning refrigerant level. Now, if you've never been trained to check it this way, this is not a diagnosis. This inspection, by the way, is designed to be very comprehensive for the consumer, but not time-consuming for the shop. This is a free inspection that we do, and so we want to try to keep it within about 10 minutes. So the test that we do is we grab the low side AC line, and it needs to be ice cold. If it's cool but not cold, what we have is low refrigerant. It can be cold out of the vents, but it's not lubricating the compressor, so that's why we're making sure the refrigerant level is good. We're not checking the entire AC system. We're just doing that quick test on the low side line. Next, while the engine's still running, we're going to check our transmission fluid. And on the fluids, we have the ability to note whether it's full, it's discolored, it's low, all that sort of thing. And by the way, this is the next section, which is fluid. So our first section was those concerns. Our next section was lights and accessories, and now we're in the fluid section. Now we shut the vehicle off. We check our engine oil level. And we always want to do that before we even do oil changes because we want to kind of have a history on this car of whether it's using oil or not. So we need to know if it's full when it came in. The next will drive you technicians crazy because it's called radiator fluid. I know it's engine coolant, but to the consumer, it's radiator fluid. I want you to exercise caution when you check this. If the system's under pressure and you don't know how to check a system that's under pressure, be very careful. We are going to look to see if it's full, low, if it's cloudy, all the same stuff on the cooling system as well. Now, if you don't know the difference between a surge tank system and an overflow system, then make sure you talk to the shop foreman so you can get some training on that. Next, we're going to have our flashlight. We're going to look at our belts and pulleys. Basically, we're looking to see if any pulleys are cockeyed out of alignment. And on the belt, we want to look for damage like fraying or something like that. Otherwise, a worn belt is considered 4 cracks per inch. So a couple of cracks per inch is acceptable. Then we're going to take a look at the engine cooling system hoses. And we're going to feel those. And we're going to feel them within about 2 inches of where they connect, as many places as possible. And what we're feeling for is a crackling or crunching, or we're feeling for a split internally. If we have either one of those, that's deterioration from the inside out. We may not be able to get to them all. We want to get to the heater hoses. We want to do some gentle tugs. The bottom line is, if we're going to have a failure, we'd rather have it here than when the client's out on the road. We're also going to take a look at them visually, look for any swelling, look for any seepage or leakage. Okay, next on our list is the battery cables and connections. Now, I don't know if I had mentioned on the lights and accessories, I should have, but we take a picture of the dash when the car's running, and we're going to snap a picture of our battery terminals as well. And we have places for notes on those, whether they're corroded or what have you. Same thing on the hold down. By the way, whenever we take pictures, we take it with the tablet vertical. And the reason for that is if they do any editing in the office, for some reason it gets skewed if we took the picture with the tablet horizontal. Next, we're going to check the engine air filter. We're going to pull it out. Engine air filters are one of the most challenging things in my opinion because they're very, what's the word I'm looking for? They're very judgmental. So you might want to make sure you talk to the rest of the guys in the shop so we make sure we're on the same page when we decide what's a dirty air filter is not. So we're gonna mark that. We're gonna snap a picture, and then we're gonna move on to the next part. The next part is under car. Now, by the way, green means everything's good. Yellow means it's probably not a safety or reliability issue, but there is a problem. So a dirty air filter, probably not going to leave them stranded. But if we have a torn air filter boot, that's going to damage the engine. So those are the differences between red and yellow and green. On the suspension, we are going to check the front end, both loaded and unloaded. So loaded, we're going to jack it up under the control arm until the wheel's off the ground. We're not using a jack stand right now, so absolutely no body parts underneath this car. Then we will use a pry bar underneath the wheel. We'll let the photographer come around. Tom Hanks, I'm not, okay? All right, so We're going to lift up, feeling for any loose ball joints. We're going to be very careful because if this falls off the jack, our fingers are under here. We're going to rock the wheel side to side and up and down, feeling for movement. This is what's called loaded because the suspension is still under a load because the jack's under the control arm. We're going to do both sides. Once we do that, now we're going to rack the vehicle and put it up in the air. Okay, for the rest of the suspension inspection, we are now going to check it unloaded. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to rock both directions, and we're going to do that on all four wheels. We're going to inspect all of the bushings. We're going to inspect the shocks and the struts, anything related to the suspension. Now on bushings, some dry rot and cracking is normal here in Arizona, but if the bushing is completely torn, then that's when we're going to mark it as an issue. And on shocks and struts, we're looking for fluid leaking. So we'll take a picture of any problem that we might see there. Steering, we're also going to look at the power steering rack and the pump and the hoses and see if we have any leaks there as well. Next on the list is general leaks. And so we're going to look underneath the car, and we're just basically going to snap a shot pretty much for any general leaks. Now the definition of a leak is not something that's sweating. We can either have a single drip, multiple drips, or an active leak. And active leaks are always red because that's an issue that you're actually seeing it putting fluid on the floor while the car's here. Next, we're going to check all four of the tires. We're going to look at the date code on them, and if you don't know what the date code is, it's after the DOT number, and it's only on one side of the tire, so it could be the inside or the outside. It's going to be a 4-digit code. This is a 3016, which means it's a 2016, those last two digits. 8 years old, we condemn the tire. 6 years old, we say there's caution. And then we're also going to measure the depth of the tread with the tread gauge. Now, then we'll record the date and the measurement. And then on at least one front tire and one rear tire, we'll snap a picture of us checking that depth. Okay. Next section. Now we've just gone past the tires. And now we're going to look at the brakes. If you have a tire rotation, go ahead and pull the wheels off. If not, either peek through the wheels at the brake pads or get an inspection mirror and look at them. And we're going to record how thick they are by millimeters. 3 millimeters, we're getting relatively close, so we're going to probably mark that yellow and say, hey, probably at the next service. 2 millimeters is red because they're due for replacement. Drum brakes, we only inspect if we have the wheels off for some other reason. And then what you're going to do is you're going to pick one front wheel and one rear wheel, and you're going to use a brake gauge, and you're going to snap a picture to show the client how thick it is approximately. So you will have to learn how to judge when you're looking through the wheel when you can't actually get this up in there. But this gauge will tell you what the different thicknesses are. And you will snap one front and one rear on that as well. On the brake hydraulics, we're going to inspect all the hoses. If we have a significant difference in brake thickness from side to side, that's indicating probably some sort of a caliper problem. And then we're also going to look up and get a look at the bottom of the master cylinder and see if we have any fluid leaking from there. So that's going to cover our brake hydraulics. The next section you basically are not doing any inspection. It's a whole bunch of things based on maintenance requirements. So on all of those, you're going to mark yellow, and on all of them, you're going to mark the recommendation, and you'll need to learn that from the shop foreman. The bottom line here is you're going to mark everything that the vehicle has. So in other words, this car does not have a timing belt or cabin air filter, so I'm not going to mark it. On the differential, it has a differential with a cover, not a drain plug, so we're going to mark that. And the only thing that we're really going to check here is we're going to see how much life is remaining on the oil. Either, say, 1,000 miles left on the sticker or 25% remaining on the little indicator, something like that. Okay, so I want to do a real quick recap. And just so you know, on those maintenance items, then the advisor is going to check the history to see if they've been done within a certain mileage, and then they're going to make the recommendations. You don't have to do that. So number one, we have the initial concerns. That's for a later date to discuss. Secondly, we have lights and accessories. We're going to snap a picture of the warning lights. If we have hazy headlights, we're going to snap a picture of that. We might take a picture of a crack in the windshield. Our air conditioning, we could have cool but not cold. Next is our fluids. We're going to make sure that all those are full and clean. The engine oil needs to be checked before we do the oil change. Next, we now have under hood. And so we've got, the belts and the pulleys, four cracks per inch. We're going to snap a picture of the air filter and the battery terminals. And we're going to look at those hoses carefully. Next is under the car. We're going to snap any pictures of like leaking struts or anything like that. We're going to check the suspension loaded and unloaded. We're going to snap a picture of the undercarriage to show any leaks or it's free of leaks. And then next we're going to have the tires. And we're going to snap a picture of one front tire and one rear tire with our gauge on it. And we're also going to record the dates and the amount of tread remaining. Next, we have the brake system. We're going to record basically what millimeters it is. We're going to snap one picture front and rear with our brake gauge to show how thick they are. And we're going to take a look at the hydraulics as well. And then last is the maintenance recommendations. We're going to look at the oil life remaining, and we're going to mark anything that applies in yellow. So, I hope that this has been informational for you, and I'm looking forward to seeing your inspections come across my desk so that we can make really good recommendations. Our clients will use this to make the best decisions on their cars. This inspection will also create a certain sense of transparency, so the client will see their actual pictures. It will build trust. They will trust that you're looking at their car properly, and it's just great for everybody involved. So, do these with integrity because this is an important part of our shop. Once again, thanks for joining our team.